And I started to cry. You know, I'm very emotional. Maybe that's why I'm an actor. I said, my gosh, you know, I've done 50-some years and all these animated features, and the first movie was with Clark Gable. And all these movies start running through my head. And then I said, now the people have invited me to come to Texas and honor me. And I was so touched that I said, people love me, I think, all over. You know, not only in Los Angeles where I do the work, but here in Houston. And I started to just reminisce on all the things I've done. And, you know, as I grow older, my predecessors have died, and so I'm the last of the Mohegans here. So I hope I'll be around to do more movies. Certainly one with Deborah. We're planning something. Yes. This woman, lady, has really impressed me with her work habits, and as Glenda Joe. So, you know, it's just amazing how much ambition the women have. I haven't met the men who are workhorses here, but certainly the women of Texas.
Yes,
come on. Responsible. You know, and I hope to come back and do more things here, especially that since I am welcome. The stewardess was very good from Houston. Everything was nice, and after you know, she was nice to me and I was nice to her. She then, quickly before I left the airplane, she gave me this piece of paper, and it's her picture as an actress. So I know everybody's out here promoting. But I better end it all before this egg drop soup really drops. But it's just been amazing. You know, everywhere I go, people are so friendly, and they recognize what I have been trying to do. All my life, when I first entered Hollywood, I said, why are people accepting the conditions as they are? And so I began to protest and formulate groups to fight for our rights, so to say. And I know from this group of people how much work you've done, because I've been in many of these organizations, formulated the advocacy groups to fight for our rights on screen. It hasn't come a long ways, unfortunately. So the battle is only like 1/4 fought, and you people have to keep fighting and keep making this organization grow. Just like you're saying, you know, before it wasn't going so good, and now it just depends the people behind it. If you lose the workers and the volunteer and the supporters, you've lost everything. Then the group dies, you know, and I've seen that happen too. But it seems like things are just looking bright now, and I hope you guys have a lot of luck and a lot of success. And thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
I didn't have time to buy you nothing, so I got something for you from my private art collection from an artist that did brush painting at the festival for 20 years. When he passed away, he was 90 years old. His name was Roland Shue, and he had been at the festival every year. And this is one of his brush paintings that I want you to have.
Oh.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. And I want to give Deborah her flowers for being such a great help. Eileen, your flowers. Over this, man. And for Miss Susan Christian, without her, this wouldn't happen. Thank you so much.
Because I don't write little things as well, but this is just for you as well. My name is Natalie, and I work inside the lounge with my partner, Charles and Brian Taylor, and we just wanted to say thank you too, and give a little celebration for all the inspirational years that you've been around. afterwards. We really appreciate the opportunity to meet you. So, sorry we were kind of late. So we wanted to nice to meet you. It's a real pleasure.
You look to your right side, down to the sea, and that's Samjian. Have you been? You've been there, I'm sure. Huh? That's the city of Samjian. It's become the second biggest city in that whole. Next to Hong Kong, Samjian is the biggest, and Samjian probably will exceed Hong Kong in population soon. It's that bubbling of a city. So China is changing all the time. Then from Samjian, you continue on the train to Canton, the city of Canton, and then on to Toisan, where my village is at, you know. And so there's a lot of things for you people who haven't traveled to do. China visit to Beijing was the highlight of my whole career. I did Marco Polo there before China changed from the, you know, so the communist system to the modern system. Everybody was in uniforms. And when our plane came from Hong Kong to Beijing and landed, and we were going to take the train up to the Empress Retreat, I walked through the station. This is why I remember it. We got to the station, the train station of Beijing. Everybody was in green uniforms or brown uniforms or black communist uniforms. And they were all squatting on this huge square before the train station. Everybody, and it was half lit. They can't afford electricity. So not too much anyway, you know. So they were all squatting down, cooking on this huge square. All you see was, I'm telling you, like 2 times the size of a football field, squatting, cooking, and there was a fountain there. People were washing their hands, full of life. And we went through this whole crowd there to go into the train station, which is now very well lit, of course. But in those days, it was like, I was, again, just following the crowd, rushing through, because they hurried me to replace the guy that had a heart attack in Beijing. There's so many stories to tell you. So we ran through these corridors of this train station, you know, you can, and to me it was like being Bladerunner, you know.
Oh, wow.
And the little dim lights here and there, and then you rush into there and jump on that train and on the way to the Empress Retreat from Beijing. I didn't see Beijing in the beginning, so that was the trip to why that room and where Yin was living and so forth was part of a commune. There's no hotels. And when you walk a few feet and you look over the balcony, there, sure enough, there was the comrades all gathered together having their meeting. And what they do in the meeting was really interesting. Each one, like if you came to the meeting, you would tell what he did wrong the day before. And then if you saw it, you would say, yes, he did do this. Everybody is put on trial if you did something wrong. That's the comrade system.
We call that second grade here.
Huh?
We call that second grade here. Yeah, right.
So everybody was put on trial who did something wrong. That's why one day when I went down the street, I said, oh, that's an interesting building, to my driver. I said, it's nobody's there, and it looks like a big place. And he says, yeah, that's the jail, that's the prison. Nobody was in the prison. That's how scared the people were of the law. Justice did its work. There was. Can you imagine a jail with no prisoner?
No, we can't.
That's unbelievable. I mean, I don't recommend that system, but there was something there that was correct, you know, in that sense. But anyway, he said the guy that had my room, he said he was sleeping. After he scrubbed it that night, he lay down to sleep. When he woke up at night, there were the insects, a trail of insects crawling along the top of the ceiling from one side to the other, you know, bugs of some kind, I don't know, cockroaches or animals. And he got up and had a heart attack.
Wow.
So in Beijing, they quickly got hold of a telephone, which in those days were non-existing. Called my agent and says, can your client come to Beijing tomorrow? the next day. And so Bessie Lou quickly got on the phone, and I remember that day. He says, James, I got Beijing on the other end. I says, yes, what they want. They say, can you go to Beijing 2 days from now? You know, I said, well, they said, okay, you can. So quickly, they said, they will go get the visa in San Francisco, because China had no embassy in Los Angeles. They will hand deliver it to your house, and then you will just take the airplane and go. You know, so everything was done in a very fast way, because there's no calling back to Beijing, there's no telephones. So that was my whole adventure. So how can you give that up for being an engineer? So I just got that visa, jumped on the airplane, and landed in that huge square where people were eating and drinking, and total cultural change. You know? And then on to the Emperor's Retreat. When I walked in that little gate in that retreat, I said, this is nothing, the town is just a little town. Enter that gate, there was the lotus pond, about 5 blocks big. That was the Emperor's lotus garden. Behind the gate was the retreat, not the city. Behind that gate was where the Emperor lived. The lotus garden was blooming, and I just went, wow, you know. And they had the Emperor built his style very old-fashioned, and the son built his portion of the retreat. Each one had the father had that natural bamboo style, natural wood, somewhat like this, except even more natural, no paint. The son painted everything red, blue, and white, and everything else like what you see in the Chinese restaurants nowadays outside, that red jacket stuff all over. So it was the son of that emperor who did that, you know. So that was my first evening in Emperor's Retreat. So I stayed there for about 5 weeks, making Marco Polo, and you know. So it's a great experience, and I would recommend it to everybody to take trips to China before it changes. When I went there was nothing in Beijing except the Tiananmen Square where the guy stood there and stopped the tank.
Right.
You know, that square, no Caucasian stuff was around. Now this last time I went back, McDonald's and chicken.
I don't know that it's the best of our culture, but they have made a lot of money.
So in a way, America did not conquer China with an army, they conquered it with McDonald's. That's the way capitalism works. You don't have to fight, you don't have to draw blood. But anyway, I just want you people to know that you will be going to China if you are going to do business, you know. Unless you're going to hibernate here in Houston and not do a thing. But you will cross cultures. How can you help it, you know? You have almost 2 billion people, and we only have how many? What's the population of America?
300 million.
Very small, comparatively. Okay, that's enough today.
Much energy in it.
I love it. It's amazing that you're still around and active. That's amazing.
Yes, really. That one kept me around, I believe.
How old are you now?
85.
85. Oh, you're wonderful. Still got all your presents and facilities.
Still got the meanness, my wife said.
Meanness, yes, that's what it is. The meanness keeps it going.
Yes.
Is it right there for you?
Hello?
Yeah. We're ready?
Oh, can you get me my tea cup?
Yes, I sure will.
Oh, Deborah, you know, ask Deborah, where's my teacup? Which one?
Yep, that's it.
If I push it, they have the teapot over here.
The one I saw.
Stand by, guys.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Snyder, I want to get this. Stand by, guys. You guys, if I do a rollout real quick. 2 minutes. Okay, let's go. Camera standing by. Ready? Camera's rolling.
Next on Conversations with the Insider, critically acclaimed, celebrated actor with some of the most memorable roles in TV and film. It is a privilege to talk to our next guest, Mr. James Hong. Stay tuned.
Maybe we should show that sign.
Yeah.
You want that picture of Seinfeld? We'll have it there.
Please,
Yeah.
please.
Can we get that picture of Seinfeld?
Oh, yeah.
Few
Well, how about that poster, actually?
Few actors have been able to manage the measure of success in TV and film that you have.
Are you rolling again, is that it?
How do you
Huh?
this word? Yeah. How do you attribute that continued measure of success you achieve in both TV and film?
Well, I just enjoy acting, you know. When the job comes, I don't care if it's in TV or major motion pictures. I take the role. If it's any good at all, I'll do it. If it's a rotten role, I'll think twice. But I do mostly television, and when the feature roles are offered to me, then I take it. You know, like Bladerunner. Who would have thought that Bladerunner would be such a popular movie? Or Big Trouble in Little China, when I did it, I thought, well, it's a kung fu movie, you know, but it has a cult following from here throughout the world.
Tonight, you've graced us with some stories from John Wayne to George C. Scott to Jack Nicholson to Jerry Seinfeld. Could you share one more behind-the-scenes anecdote? About when you crossing paths with one another, another actor of
You know,
that stature, your stature.
I think when I'm doing these movies and TV, I simply just keep my ears and eyes open, and the rest just happens. You know, it's just like that time. Like I told you, I went to back to my village. I was just talking to George C. Scott, and in that scene, I was the communist soldier. And then all of a sudden, I looked out the hotel window, and I see across the way new territories, on through, beyond the new territory. I said, that's where communist China lies, you know. In those days, it was separated by a border, as you remember, from new territories on through the rest of so-called communist China. And I just decided that I want to do that. I want to cross that border, get to the other side to where my father's village is, beyond Canton to Toisan. And so I decided to get the visa down in the basement floor of the hotel. And my friend Victor said to me, oh, James, you shouldn't go. You're just one person, you know, going to a so-called strange land. It is strange, although it's my father's village, but I know nobody there. And so I said, no, I think I'll do it, because I don't think I'll get the chance again. So I got that visa. Next morning I woke up bright and early, took that train and crossed the border and into Canton and into the new territories and so forth. Now, but however, when things happen correctly, it will happen. Oh, they stopped filming.
Like tonight has happened
Yeah.
correctly. A real privilege, real honor, sir. Natalie, would you like to?
No, I just want to say thank you very much for your time, and it
Well,
was really a
listen now,
pleasure meeting you.
I'm sorry, are we doing some more or not?
Yeah.
I'm sorry? I was just saying it was nice. It was a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for your time, and we enjoy the fact that we were honored enough to be invited to be in your presence.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you.
Camera's still rolling.
Are we still on?
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
James Hong, Conversations with the Insider, Inside the Lounge. We'll be back.
Thank you.
Oh, you're with this group here,
Yes.
is that it? And she's separate. Listen, I got off.
So much going on. Well, I want a picture, so you can take a picture of it. I don't get anything else, but I just want a picture. Okay.
this big old international truck, right? And they said, okay,
With my bow.
and I wanted to go like it was.
Yes, I'm here.
I was 5 years old, and of course, they had those big old, to me, it was like here.
I'm talking
They had the
serious
big
business.
wheels, right?
Yes, put $10,000 on horse number 5, something
I would stand up and look through, and my brother could whistle without using his fingers.
Like, thank you.
Really.
Hope it wins.
And when he would put the radio, and he would put a rock
Nice to meet you. Thank
on
you.
the accelerator. And he said,